Hello and welcome to the traffic scoping meeting for the Sterling Hills preliminary plat. My name is Ann Winkler. I'm a traffic engineer at Sunburst Engineering. I'm going to be submitting what's called a traffic impact analysis. It's a report to Spokane County and to the city of Spokane Valley that documents the traffic impacts associated with this preliminary plat. We'd like to hear from you all that drive the surrounding transportation system to make sure that we've got the scope of this study correct. So I'll introduce the project in a little bit more detail as we go along, and I'm anxious to hear from you about what your thoughts are regarding what we've come up with so far. The scope was reached by meeting with Spokane County and the city of Spokane Valley via Zoom, as all things are done these days. And so we want to hear if we've missed something. So as you think about this project, there are some documents and some other information on this website, and please feel free to look them over, and any input that you have would be most welcome. Thank you. Let's begin. The purpose of this meeting is to introduce the project to you and then to get input from you to make sure that the traffic impact analysis report that we're going to submit has the elements in it that are necessary to fully look at the traffic impacts from this project. The project itself is located outside the bounds of Spokane Valley. It's within the county, but a lot of the transportation system is within Spokane Valley. That's why they're invited to be a reviewing agency. This site lies on the east side of the Morningside Hill and continues development that's been ongoing for many years in that area. Because of its location, it falls on both sides of the newly constructed Chapman Road that has formed a new link between Morningside Heights and the Barker corridor. And it'll use some existing access points to Chapman and then also provide some new ones. In total, there are 105 lots within this development, and it's planned to be developed in 6 phases. It'll start as soon as possible and proceed forward probably without interruption over the next few years. In looking at where the project is located and the surrounding transportation system, along with likely destinations, we came up with a distribution of approximately 85% using the Barker Road corridor and 15% going back over the hill to the Sullivan corridor. We think the 15% is about right, given that school traffic may be headed that way, especially high school traffic, and that there are destinations within the southern Spokane Valley area that can be reached most efficiently by using that route. Given that that's the case, what we've been asked to focus on are the intersections within the Barker Road corridor. Firstly, Chapman and Barker Road. I don't know that that's been examined and analyzed before, but we want to see how that's functioning, and with the additional 105 lots, if it will continue to function at an acceptable level of service. Beyond that, we've been asked to look at 8th and Barker, which I noticed that there's some turning movements, some left turning movements that maybe need to be addressed at that location. We'll see what happens. Then also Sprague and Barker, which is planned for a roundabout sometime in the future. Then also Appleway and Barker, which is the signal, And then what might seem like a surprising addition to the scope is Broadway and Barker. There is a housing development planned west of Barker on Broadway that will provide the link of Broadway so that Broadway will continue through as a paved road all the way from Sullivan to Barker. As such, there will be more traffic on Broadway than there is today. There's also plans in the work for Broadway on the east side of Barker to be relocated south so that it lines up with Broadway on the west. That is planned to be a roundabout at some time in the future, but we're not really sure when that's going to happen. Nevertheless, these are the intersections that we think have the highest likelihood of being impacted by the development of this property. So we are going to be looking at both the morning and the evening commuting times, since it is a residential plat and people will be going to work in the morning and returning home in the afternoon. So that's basically what the scope is, those 5 intersections. We're going to look at those both in the morning and in the afternoon. There are 3 conditions that are looked at in any kind of traffic impact analysis. So the first one is the existing conditions. How are those intersections functioning today? The second is the future conditions with all known sources of traffic. For example, we need to include the traffic from that little residential subdivision on Broadway that's going to continue, that's going to provide the link, the remaining link of Broadway. There's also some other subdivisions in the area that we're all well aware of. And then, so we look at what the conditions are with all of those completed and see where we're at. And then lastly, we add on top of that the traffic from this Sterling Hills plat, see how that impacts the traffic and the level of service and so forth at the intersections. The county and the city have standards which we are required to meet, or else we need to provide mitigation so that those standards are met. So if you have any input on these matters, please let me know and we'll get those included in the study. Thanks so much.